welcome to Every Which Way. This is our behind the scene episode where we just kind of talk about the hunt. It's our post hunt wrap up discussion. I'm Aiden and I'm the keeper for this game.
I'm Sam, I play Ian.
I'm Noah, I play Max.
And I'm Jared, and I play Harvester.
You sound so quiet compared to us.
Well, you fiddled my diddles, so I'm Jared, and I play Harvester.
So, we had a really long gap between records for a hot minute.
Another one.
I
think that's like 3.
Yeah, so this hunt got broken up a bunch of times. So I figure it's going to be a little bit harder to discuss this hunt in detail. Because we played the first 2 or 3 sessions and then took like a month and a half gap.
Yeah.
But I'll do a quick recap. You guys first found out that people were being weird and attacked someone at a mall. Then there was a big bar fight that broke out, and Harvester broke it up by basically throwing sleep gas into the bar. Max broke his arm, and all 3 of you got together and started figuring out what was going on. You investigated the arcade, and then Max got stung while Ian was with him at the bar, or at the arcade. And Max started getting all crazy, and you guys found out that basically whatever the thing that gives you the most pleasure is, you would seek it out. And then if someone tried to basically interrupt that, you would get violent towards them, is whatever happened when you got stung by these wasps. So then you guys pretended to be exterminators to break into the mall and I guess exterminate. I guess you did the extermination.
We did.
But it turned out that the hive itself was actually the queen, and it followed the live wasps that you captured back to Harvester's house and attacked you outside of Harvester's house. You guys then killed the beast, and then during cleanup, Harvester and Sophie started talking because Harvester was also stung, and Harvester basically was like really nice to Sophie during that time and then stopped being nice right after. And then they got in a big argument, and then Sophie left and has not come back yet. I guess the one thing I would say is she's still at the university. She has not seen Harvester yet. So I don't think Max and Ian would know any of the drama behind that. Ian called his brother. They had a big phone call, and Max talked to the sheriff some more about some stuff going on with his dad. So that's kind of the big overview of the hunt. What was your guys' favorite moment that you can remember?
I remember a lot, because I remember my media quite well.
Yeah, you do. You have a really good media memory.
I do, for some reason. I don't know why. I remember... I'm very curious about the security guard that you guys, were exterminating with.
Yeah.
These are different bugs.
You've never seen anything like this before. I saw this back in '93, and
I'm curious.
that was a good part.
I'm curious what the security guard you knocked out.
The one that I knocked out. Oh, yeah. To get that, to get the key.
Honestly,
I'm very interested with a lot of the side characters in this section.
It's so good.
Like
Big
we
Mall.
have that, Big Mall. We have the security guard that I knocked out. Your security guard. Then there was also
I swear there was another big one.
Bran.
Bran's obvious one.
Yeah, so
Bran was a big one.
Bran got a little bit more character in this one, as we saw him working with the bar fight stuff. And then you guys met at the end of the hunt, Jack Probably,
I love that.
who asked Ian and Max to start a study group to help him.
Speaking of, with your roommate, what was so you told us, I don't know if it was on the thing before.
It was not.
But you told us that the roommate was supposed to also have been stung. And it just really wanted to watch TV really bad.
Yeah,
But Ian's very conflict averse.
Yeah, I had a whole setup that was going to be the introduction to push Ian towards this investigation specifically, of Ian getting in a fight with Hudson.
Hudson, not your name.
Sean Hudson. And so I had written, if Hudson gets bit, which he should, especially if a failed investigate a mystery roll happens, because remember, I can only take hard moves if you guys fail at things.
Right.
So I thought that if you guys fail, maybe something happens with Hudson, because also keep in mind, failing is not in this game the same as it is in D&D. It doesn't mean you fail as a character. It means the world is not happy about your roll.
It's so funny.
So I get to basically react however I want. And you want to keep it kind of tied to the role that you're doing.
Darn.
But I get to react with whatever as a hard move. So I was sitting there trying to figure out what's the douchiest thing that could be his guilty pleasure. My original idea was, I don't know if this is the one I went with.
I think it was Rick and Morty, which is what
Was
you
it?
did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. My original idea was he was just going to be listening to Creep at full volume, and just
That's
every time it
crazy.
ends, he just repeats it again.
Oh my god.
That's awful.
So I just wanted to do something that's just like, this is the worst roommate ever, and like there's going to be a conflict because of it. And then Ian walks in, saw that, immediately closed the door, and stayed with Max in a van over actually confronting Hudson, which
Oh
I
my
think was
God.
even funnier. And it did make me laugh because it's just like, there's a conflict. Why don't I just close the door on that one and walk away? But I thought that was fun characterization for Ian as well.
Mm.
You know what? I think I finally moved past wanting to kill Hudson because I find out that he's a monster, of course. Two, I think there could be a character arc there. But yeah, I think for favorite moments, probably you guys with the exterminators. That was pretty good.
I thought that was
pretty top
so
tier.
fun.
Very, very Scooby-Doo-esque. I loved it.
And then you just barreling in and grabbing a piece of the
What else was I supposed to do?
Yeah,
Run
just
away?
grab a fistful of the hive.
Not only did I grab a bunch of live wasps out of the air, I also ripped a chunk of flesh off of something. To be fair, at the time, I didn't know it was a chunk of flesh or armor, technically, but still a part of a living thing.
Yeah, I did not expect any of that. And looking back, I was just like, I was very lenient with the stupidity of the three of you.
I was surprised I made it out of that room conscious.
There was no I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
You were wearing the bee suit,
Yeah,
and so you were like not gonna get stung.
right.
And the only swarm attack is the sting that makes you, at least how I designed the encounter, was the swarm attack is the sting that makes you engage in your guilty pleasures. So the only thing that could be left was the queen basically wakes up, and that's exactly what happened, and you got out before she was able to just like obliterate you. This was also not supposed to be a high damage hunt.
Well,
What do you mean by high damage?
I'm
Like high
built
damage
different.
for us or high damage for it?
For you guys, like I wasn't, my intention with this hunt was less about just let me obliterate
Gotcha.
you guys.
Gotcha.
The first hunt was that. That's why they were doing a shit ton of damage and you were getting attacked by minions. This was more about fucking up the world that you guys live in.
Yeah.
So I think the only attack that the queen really had was a 1 harm ignore armor.
Yeah.
And I designed that on purpose also because the next hunt is now happening faster than the gap between the first two. So you will get healed less. And I have to go take a look at the rules to make sure I know exactly how much you get healed over like a week. But you will get healed less. And I knew that going into this. So this is a little bit more of a war of attrition than the first hunt was. And you also, I've already told you that the hunt has a week gap. So that's not a surprise to you. I'm not spoiling anything by saying that.
Yep.
But yeah, I was very lenient with you guys just kind of doing some crazy shit. I mean, you literally threw sleep gas into a bar full of people and police officers.
Yeah.
Speaking of, that was my favorite part when I rolled to see if Ian was actually able to like be affected, and then I just played it off was like, I'm not tired. Because the Harvester was like, why aren't you unconscious?
it's so good.
I'm just not sleepy. That was really good. I forgot about that.
I didn't.
Also, Max was able to one hand break down a wall with a pickaxe, which I like.
Yeah.
I just really like the idea of. It's just really funny.
And I said that there was something on the other side. That,
And you were like, wouldn't that have made a lot of noise? But
Yeah.
I forgot.
the thing is, like, I'm balancing so many things, and I don't write enough down. Also, I had no plans going into that.
True, because like
Yeah, because he didn't know he would do that.
unpredictable.
Right. So I work in a very improv heavy space. Obviously in D&D everyone does, but basically I plan 2 things. I plan everything about the monster, motivations, weaknesses, everything around how the monster works. And I will write down, here are some narrative goals that I would like to hit. Often they don't get hit. So yeah, I hit, here are some narrative goals. Here's some things that hint to the bigger mystery. Here are some things that like would be good for the characters, stuff like that. And then I just kind of use those as guidelines to improv everything else. I don't come in with anything else after that. So I will often, and I need to get better about this. This is just like one of my own DM things. I will often forget what I've just established in the world.
Oh yeah.
And then 3 seconds later be like, wait, I fucked up. So I for sure should have had that be a more dangerous moment for you than it was. But at the same time, that was also like
The end of a hunt.
the end of a hunt. Like I don't even think we had dice out
No.
because we just didn't need it. And I kind of like that about the end of the hunt. It's just kind of everyone talking in character and meeting more characters. Because one of the things that I've noticed about Monster of the Week that we talked about, Sam and I, is it's very hard to have character moments in the middle of a hunt. Because Sam wanted to do that phone call between Ian and his brother from the beginning. And it was just very weird to interrupt the action of like, all right, this big queen monster and all these murder bees are swimming around. Let me just like call my brother. So it made the most sense to come in towards the end as things were wrapping up. But it's very hard to just like get those narrative moments between like a couple of characters. That's why I really liked that Harvester went and was like, I think my guilty pleasure is going and hanging out with Sophie, because that gave us more character while being in the middle of the hunt and felt like it didn't break up the action, because there's still the tension of, oh shit, this is going to make everything fall apart. And it did. So now Sophie and Harvester are not speaking to each other at the moment. Like, I thought that gave good character moments, but there aren't a lot of those in the hunts. I mean, like, especially the first hunt. How are you going to be like, oh, they're turning humans into animal creatures and killing people? Hey, let me go, like, talk to my sister for a while. I'm going to go talk to Bran. I'm just going to hang out with him for a couple
you guys
days.
didn't study.
No.
We didn't study.
So, like, under the pretenses that you set,
Under oath.
will they ever study?
Oh.
Because studying is like, oh my god, they're turning people into monsters.
Who cares about school?
I'm gonna study.
That,
But then you said you would punish them for not studying.
did I?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because
like-
if we roll a test later,
yeah, 'cause-
and then we have
yeah.
we'll have less bonuses and we fail, then more harm, not harm, but
Yeah, you get hurt as a person. I have not created a system for school at all. Because the thing I noticed in the first and second hunts is they took the backest of seats.
Yeah.
Especially because one of the characters is not even involved in the school.
No.
And the other two are like, Max didn't give a shit before the monsters, and now he's certainly not going to give a shit. So then it's just like, Ian. And it's like, I don't know what to do about that information. Because even Ian hasn't been super interested in studying except after each hunt.
Yeah, I guess.
And I agree. There's not a lot of time to study while a monster's chasing you.
No.
So I don't really know how to rectify that. I don't think that's going to come into play very often unless it does. I don't think I'm going to make it test day every single hunt. That just doesn't seem interesting. But I also knew that I wanted to introduce more characters, and I wanted to try to bring it back to the college a bit.
Yeah.
So that's why Jack probably exists. Because I was like, we need to get some more students and some more characters, because I want more people in the world.
I think it was very intentional that Ian was very weird towards this kid. So then when inevitably something slips about monsters, he's not going to question it.
That's smart. That's smart. Ian's playing the long con.
Yeah, the long game. Noah, did you say your favorite part?
He did not.
oh, I don't. Yeah, I guess not. I don't know. Honestly, it's hard to pick. One of my favorite parts is when Max was just like, fuck it. I'm running out of lies. Let me tell half truths."
Half truths.
Oh, to the sheriff?
Yeah.
Half truths?
Yeah.
Which part?
Well, the wasp part, like, left you guys out entirely, left the queen out entirely,
Oh yeah, I guess.
left out for the mushroom man, I left out the fact that I killed a man. So, I didn't get arrested on the spot.
Yep.
And then I played it off like I'm just insane because it's very believable that I'm just insane, or at least probably just insane, because like in the future, we're probably going to need his help. I feel like very soon, because of how hurt I am, I'm going to be like, hey, I need Mr. Payne right now, not Sheriff Payne.
Oh, you know what? I realized that you told me. I don't think anyone else knows what Harvester's Antidote did for Max.
No,
Unless you can always change it.
I thought it was pretty. I mean, it was in the episode.
I was kind of, I thought it was, yeah.
What did you think it was?
It was the fact that I had to protect the queen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, guys, we met Big Mole.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Was it Jimmy McMall or did I make that up?
Jimmy
So
Mall.
I said
Jimmy
Jimmy Mall, and then you said Jimmy McMall, and then you said Jimmy McMall every time after that, as if you asserted his name to be Jimmy McMall.
Well, Better Call Saul.
What?
Better Call Saul. Jimmy McGill.
I didn't know that's what you were referencing at all. When you
Really?
said-
I also did not know that.
There's
and I've watched all of the episodes.
Oh my god.
That's a crazy pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jimmy Mall or Jimmy McMall to some.
To one.
To one. Yeah, so I had a couple of moments that I wanted to specifically hit, and we've kind of talked about them a little bit.
Okay.
The first one, I wanted to hear Jared's thoughts more on the argument between him and Sophie, between Harvester and Sophie at the end of the hunt, because I thought that was super not where I thought that was going to go.
I didn't think it would go there either.
Yeah. And then we had to transition from that really awkwardly.
That was yeah, we'll fix that. We'll fix that in post. So yeah, Jared and I got a little heated there. In my notes, I have written down Sophie wants to talk to Harvester. Sophie misses her brother, and maybe they can spend a day together to hang out. And then what we got instead was a very upsetting argument that Jared and I listened back to, and we realized there's like 0 pauses between the two of us speaking to each other, because we were just like back and forth without thinking, just instant, which is super intense. And we should probably talk about this at some point. We should see if there's an underlying thing there. But
that wasn't Harvester and Sophie.
that was just you and me.
With my dead
Do we
names
need
and waiting to
like-
die.
Oh my god, we need couples counseling for you guys.
Yeah, we do. So yeah, I thought that was going to go a completely different direction, and I much prefer where it went.
Really?
I think it's way more interesting this way.
Okay.
A conflict between you and the one character you trust is way more interesting than you guys just frolicking at the
People,
mall.
let me tell you about my past.
Like, that's literally what I thought. And then I was like, if they go to the mall, maybe the security guards will be all like, I think I know that guy, and like cause an issue there. But like, I much prefer the idea of having Sophie and you argue and have conflict, because that is the one character you trust, and conflict just makes things more interesting.
Yeah.
So I much prefer where it went, and that is not at all where I thought it was going to go.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess I don't know. What were your thoughts with the character in that moment, or anything going on?
Well, I put myself in the situation, of course, and at the end of not the last episode, but one before that one,
Yep.
where Harvester went to the mall and then went to the storage room where the bug was and saw nothing,
Yeah.
and was like, "Well, that was a really easy hunt," and then whistled away because it was a very good day for him. You know,
Yeah.
like he and Sophie worked well. He got the monster. I feel that he feels he saved people inadvertently, you know, or indirectly.
Yep.
And then he gets that. Was it a phone call or was it a text? I think it was a phone call.
No, it was when you walked home. You
Oh,
walked in,
yeah,
and she
yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
And she
"Come
was
on,
like,
dude,
"We need
gotta
to talk." And then I imagine he was like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
because that's never a good thing to hear, you know.
No.
And then, of course, he knows what his mission is in which way, you know.
Yeah.
Because they came here for a purpose, and he hasn't forgotten it. And he, oh, well, he knows what his mission is, and Sophie knows what his mission is,
Yep.
which was also her mission. And now she wants to slow down.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he doesn't appreciate the sentiment. I just think that it's one thing at a time, you know?
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before. So Jared and I actually ended up having a long conversation, both on phone and then after the phone call, we started texting about it, about that scene in particular. And we can just kind of part the curtain here, because Jared was like, that wasn't the Sophie that we talked about.
Yeah, because so in my playbook, Sophie is like my familiar, basically.
Yeah,
So I had to make a backstory for both of them. But because I felt like it would be cheating for me to play 2 characters, and then I also have I have another skill where I can like call in the boys to help on a hunt. Basically,
Yeah.
that's another skill in the professional. I was like, okay, well, having technically three different groups of people I can play as is kind of overpowered. So how about I let the keeper have some autonomy a little bit, and then Aiden can play Sophie.
yeah,
Which means that I don't know all the lines Sophie's gonna say.
Yeah.
So Aiden knows the lines that Sophie's gonna say, and
But-
I'm not in control of that. So Aiden has autonomy over Sophie now, which I think is cool because it lets
Yeah.
Aiden play as well. But anyway, I had to think of the story for both of them. And do you want me to say what I thought the story was
Yeah,
gonna be?
no, absolutely.
Okay, so they came to Which Way to hunt Big Monster, and that was the objective because Monster took something away, took Harvester's family away, as you find in their argument, right?
Yeah.
The whole idea that I had and Aiden had was Harvester will start to get closer to Max and Ian, and then he will start to lose his way on the hunt because he's enjoying hanging out with those two, right?
Yep.
But as the story progressed, Harvester hasn't exactly done that yet. Even though I'll say he is warming up to Max a little bit
He is.
with Max and the knife idea. And it seems that Sophie is enjoying herself, actually. So it seems like the positions have flopped.
So
Flip-flopped.
Yeah, and so one of the things I talked about with Jared is I think it makes more sense both in terms of how much Harvester has warmed up to them, which is like not. Harvester isn't really warming up to them, and Sophie, I don't think Sophie is warming up to either of you two at all. Just to be perfectly explicit about that, I don't think she's warming up to you guys, but the idea of having a life here is something she's warming up to. Because again, Harvester lost his family, and while they are Sophie's family as well through sister-in-law and niece, nephew, we never talked about that, did we?
Yeah, I think it's niece.
Niece? Okay. So while that is Sophie's family as well, this is Harvester's crusade, and she's there to support her brother. You know? So I figure that it made more sense for Sophie to be upset with Harvester than for Harvester to kind of do the flip.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized we didn't really talk about that before I just did it.
Mhm.
The problem is I also had to make a character for Sophie.
Uh-huh.
Because once you gave me autonomy over Sophie, I was like, well, now I have to figure out who she is.
Uh-huh.
And so I did.
But because I feel like we're like her and I know that from my upgrades, Harvester's now a walking military base, you know?
Yep.
And I feel like maybe she doesn't have as cool things as he does, but like she's still fully capable.
Yeah.
And I feel like in his playbook, having like another group that can help out sometimes, I feel like if I did check that off, it would not be in like combat because I feel like that's kind of cheating for me.
Right. Well, and I mean, Sophie's never been. She is capable, but she's never been the combat person. She's like the overseer for because he's playing the professional. And so we have her kind of as the entire corporate office that he's working for, essentially, is just Sophie.
Yeah.
So she's the one with all the contacts to other people to help with the hunts. She's the one with all the information about the monsters that you guys come up against. That
And I
kind of
also
stuff.
imagine she does like all the on-grid stuff.
Yes. Which is why she's the one with the cover story.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of her brother who, in all legal ways, is just kind of leeching off her.
Yeah.
But I think that's also a place where that creates a resentment.
Mhm.
Because that is not a fun position to be in, where not only are you dragging your brother around, or your brother's dragging you around a bunch of different towns, he's asking you to get a job for him. And also then he's going to go out and get himself killed every night.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like it just makes sense that there's a sort of anger that she feels towards you.
Yeah, but on his side, he is saving people.
Right.
Factually, I believe like in his brain, I think he has a strong argument. Like he's doing a
Absolutely.
good thing, saving people.
I don't think that it is inherent that Harvester is wrong because Sophie's angry at him, but
Yeah.
just the position that she's in as a character is very specifically one of just like anger, and she has to face all the bad sides of Harvester, while the rest of the people that are getting saved will get to see what good he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so she's seeing that ugly other side, and I think she's upset by that because she also grew up with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like she knows there's more going on there and is just not seeing it.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where we're at with Sophie and Harvester based on all the arguments that they've had. And I think I have an idea for where things are going with them, but obviously the moment you start speaking, things will change,
Yeah.
as is tradition in a TTRPG. So then I guess we're kind of mostly talking about the post-hunt stuff right now. Sam, what did you... I want to talk more about your brother and the phone call and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, Sam came to me with that idea of a phone call with Ian's brother,
Liam.
Liam. I should write that down
Liam and Ian.
because I don't think I have that written down.
Yeah, Liam's 11. If I'm
11? I was thinking like 13.
Nope, he's 11.
That's crazy.
They're 8 years apart, and also half siblings.
Oh. Wait, half siblings and then I'm trying to think of the story. Mom and dad, or is it just mom? Is it just mom who
Let me look at my
argues?
flow chart.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, one's dead.
Oh.
Oh,
Which one?
that's
Mom.
information I didn't know.
Same dad.
So whose mom is dead? Your mom is dead?
My mom is dead in the game.
Okay. So then Liam's
Liam's mom's alive, and they have the same dad.
okay. But they're arguing.
Yeah.
Oh.
He got in an argument with his parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dad
I
sucks.
see.
Dad sucks.
Oh, that's
Boo.
tomatoes.
So yeah, what was your idea going into that phone call? Because I know we talked about it a couple times, but
Yeah, I was gonna try and like create a better kind of outline of what I wanted from that, but I didn't really know what I wanted from that. I just wanted to see where it went. And I think I really like connecting, like, because I know they all have their own like past, and that's connected in which way.
yeah,
But like all of Ian's stuff is nothing to do with which way. It's all
right. And I will definitely there will be points where that will come more into the story in the future. But we have had the problem of like, yeah, Ian's past is all not in Wisconsin, not even in the
Iowa.
state. Yeah, it's all in Iowa. So it's like, how can we bring Ian's past into that? And I know we've both felt a lot of kind of pressure to do it and not really had the clear path
Yeah.
on how to get there. So I think bringing that phone call into it and just like talking to your family was a great way to bring it in. And that's why I kind of sprung that second phone call on you during the wrap up where Liam called you and was just like, "Hey, I got in a fight with dad. Can I like come hang out with you for a weekend?" And we didn't really talk about what the family dynamic was going to be
yeah.
until after that conversation. So in my head, I was just like, I think we could bring it a step further into bringing your past to which way, as well as now there is a new, I guess, roadblock towards monster hunting
Yeah.
in that now your brother is here and
Yeah.
your 11-year-old brother is just going to be here. So that's why I thought it would be interesting for the next hunt to kind of have him around. But I sprung that on you. So I guess what were you thinking going into that?
I think it was a good way to kind of bring it all here. I didn't put a lot of thinking towards it like at all. I tried a few different I tried to figure it out like a few different ways like how it could go, and I didn't really like any of it, so I'm glad I just kind of improvised and it just was the way it is.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot more going forward that will come from that. And I am excited to see your family dynamic because we haven't talked about it a ton until after that phone call.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know how much we have to put into it before you want to just improvise it.
The way I like writing characters like Ian specifically with the identity,
Yeah.
I don't want to make it a big deal, you know. It's not going to be the main focus of everything, but it's still a part of who Ian is. So.
I definitely agree. I want it to just be a part of the character, and I want it to show, but not be just like a slap in the face, just kind of thing, because I think that's more respectful. I don't really know how to do that. I know in the Adventure Zone, they just kind of were like, "Here's the character," anyways, and then just moved on, and it was like, I guess that works. So we could do that if you want. But yeah, we can plan that out more behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Max, my very chaotic friend. So Noah, I threw a couple more things at you. You got another hospital talk with the sheriff, which I've realized there's a pattern, and I would like to break the pattern.
I would like to break the pattern as well. So for the Sheriff Payne thing, Max was like, I feel like I should open up a little bit because I've been literally door shut for the past 5 years. So, you know, like maybe one adult I'll trust, or one like actual adult I'll trust, because he is a technical adult.
But he doesn't have any of the responsibilities that come with being an
No.
adult.
Right. Not even
No.
a job somehow.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about you help out at the bar occasionally. That was probably the biggest turn of the series, in my opinion.
Yeah, because he was just like, you say a mushroom man.
Yeah. I can't see a world where that doesn't have
Rippling effects.
big ripples of effect.
Yeah, Max is probably going to be laying extra low after this.
I doubt it.
I also doubt it.
I also done it too.
But yeah, I'd like to break up the kind of pattern of you just ending up in the hospital and every single hunt wrap up is you in the hospital getting talked to.
I promise Max will try to be less reckless. He just wants to be helpful.
I mean, I'm fine with it. It just might be the next time I just wait until you're not in the hospital and you just do whatever.
Okay, what happened in the first hunt? I
I shot you.
I was like, I know I got really beat up by like the weird mushroom zombies.
Yeah, no, and then Ian shot you.
And then I
got
laid my
shot.
gun down to rest forever.
Just insane.
I need to get my gun back.
What an insane game that we're playing.
Yes.
I know.
I did want you to have more conversations with the sheriff because there are two characters that are big in your life: is the sheriff and Bran. And we've talked about Max doesn't really have a lot of people in his life, so it's hard to kind of do moments with your character that are not just the sheriff or Bran.
I think the character moments that at least Max likes to do is the investigation ones where he wants to because like he wants to protect his home. And you know, when there's a lot of weird shit going on in your home, in a cave you've never seen before in your home.
Yep.
You want to figure out what the fuck is going on, you know? You got to protect everything. You got to protect the college, Brand's bar, the cheese district. It's all got to get protected.
The large district of cheese factories.
You gotta protect them
Half
all.
of which are
Gotta
shut
protect
down.
Jimmy.
You
Jimmy
can bring
Mall.
Mr. Cheddar into it.
Mr. Chet.
So yeah, I love that instinct from Max and the investigative stuff. I thought it was super fun that you had a whole scene at the end where you're kind of putting together more stuff, and I think that's going to keep coming more into play. But you do have a past in which way, and so there are also moments that kind of need to work into that past.
Yeah,
which is where talking to the sheriff and talking to Bran and kind of doing those things come in. And stop me if I'm wrong on any of this, but because I don't want just randomly one day it just be like trauma dump, here's everything.
Right,
I think
no,
it's
of
more
course not.
natural for the world
'Cause
to just keep moving.
obviously, because like I think the thing is why that's like kind of because what I had in mind for like Max's like past is like, I don't know how many people are going to be listening to the behind the scenes thing, but there was a turning point in Max's life when he was 18 where his father, who was already rather absent, just completely disappeared, and that's when he started living in a van, and that's really most of the time when he started interacting with Bran, and even then sparsely. So that's why he doesn't have that strong of a relationship with Bran. It's just kind of his anchor to a life instead of, but like before that, he was just kind of like a kid who would wander around the streets. That's why everyone knows who Max is and just does not want to be near him because Max causes trouble. And when there's a kid who causes trouble that is not your child and is not someone your nose child,
You ignore and disown him. Naruto taught me that.
Exactly.
Yep.
So like maybe some people who used to be video store clerks were like, "Oh, hey, I kind of feel bad for this kid. Let him rent a DVD or something like that." But like he was not a very social kid. Like he'll talk to anyone like he's known them for a while. But like you know those people who would like trauma dump to like a cashier at like let's say a Dunkin' Donuts for an example.
Just like for an example
like
a random place,
a random person like a grandmother of 4 small children that you can see just randomly says to someone at a worker at Dunkin' Donuts like, yeah, their mom just died, you know, just weird shit like that. But that's what Max would do. But like obviously he didn't really know much, so he would just like start random conversations. Like so people know him. He doesn't really have any strong connections with anyone because like I'm thinking like, oh, he would probably go to a game shop or a video store. That's like, yeah, most of the people who would work at those are like minimum wage employees who like come and go.
Yeah, and that was a big reason I think that the sheriff plays an important role. in your life now.
Definitely.
Is because I think he's someone who sees that there's no one for you,
Mhm.
and I mean, he said it in the episode. He was like, "It's my problem
Yeah.
if you do something stupid,"
Ye-
and I think he knew your father well enough to be like, "I don't want him." I think he even said, "I don't want you to go down that path."
Right. Probably also the only constant from before his dad disappeared, because obviously the sheriff would, keep an eye on a child wandering the streets alone.
Yeah, for sure.
Um.
And we never talked about that.
Right.
That was another moment that like, and I did feel bad that so many characters just kind of sprung into existence without you guys knowing.
Mhm.
But at the same time, that's kind of the nature of Monster of the Week. I didn't know
Right,
any of these.
honestly.
I didn't know the sheriff was going to be this big of a role until we started playing, and then all of a sudden the sheriff shows up.
I mean,
and
honestly,
crossover of the century, crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So we
Oh,
did
man.
a Western one shot, and it was a great episode, and we lost it to my own ineptitude in recording.
And even Harvester and Max Payne, Sheriff Payne now.
His name is Jesse Payne.
My
Oh,
bad, my bad.
long distant relative.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Also, to backtrack a little bit, you were talking about all the characters springing into existence. No, that's good. I like that. That's why I love in TTRPGs where I write like parts of backstories. For the most part, the parts of the backstory that the character that I'm playing would be aware of.
Yep.
And then some extra bits just to give more momentum to the directions like that the DM could go. Because I feel like writing every piece of a backstory for a TTRPG character leaves no room for growth or integration with the story, because you have
I
no
agree.
idea what story your like GM is coming with.
Yep.
So you have to be like, okay, I need to have something that can basically another skeleton to have
Yeah.
the world that the GM has to fill out the rest, to make a whole person that's actually living in the world.
Yeah, you don't want to go into it knowing everything about your backstory or your character, because those things can change once you start playing.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've come in with a personality for a character, and then I read the room and I'm like, I think it would be more fun to do something else.
Yeah.
And this actually makes me transition into one thing that I did want to talk about that's kind of outside of our every which way stuff, outside of our monster hunting. But I also feel like it would be fun to just kind of talk a little bit more about us as on the podcast and in these behind the scenes episodes specifically. So I wanted to kind of talk about our histories with tabletop role playing games, and specifically with Noah. I know, like, I knew that about you going into it, that like you would be fine if I just threw
Yes.
things at you. Because Noah and I have been playing tabletop role playing games since my sophomore
I think like
or end of freshman year of high school.
2017, 2018.
It was for sure 2017.
Yeah.
I played a couple campaigns with my dad and a couple of his friends before that, so I'd been playing a little bit longer, and I like basically sat down and begged Noah to play with me, and it didn't take a lot of begging. I was like, "No, I want to play a game," and he was like, "Yes." So and then I DM'd it for him, and I've DM'd a couple of campaigns after that, and every time I've seen Noah do the same thing.
Yes.
He gives me half a backstory and says, "Here are all these holes that you can fill out, and anything else you think of, just do."
I thought you were gonna say he's done the same thing. Make a homeless character.
That too.
Well, yeah,
no,
that
he
too.
actually he's made a ridiculous amount of homeless characters in games. We were playing a superhero campaign
see.
where he was a homeless man. What was his name? Weird Wheel? Well, okay, specifically though, Noah also, he makes characters that specifically don't try to do anything, and I've diagnosed Noah for that. That is Noah's unerring desire to live in a world where he doesn't have to have obligations outside of what he wants to do. And so almost every TTRPG character he makes is someone who maybe, if they're lucky, has a house, does not have a job outside of have fun.
Yes.
So if it's a real world game, they're almost always homeless.
Look,
if they're in the fantasy world, they're pirates. They're like mercenaries who just like to get paid to do the fun thing. So Noah and I have really figured out how to work together on whatever we're doing. So whenever I DM, I basically expect Noah to give me a half backstory and say, "You can do what you want with this," because he's done it every time. So that's kind of been Noah's MO. So I knew I could do that, and that's why, there are a lot of characters, and I basically have your whole thing figured out.
Oh, sick.
But I knew that I could trust that with you because we've been playing for so long. But I also wanted to talk about. So I was originally going to ask, what was your first experience with tabletop role playing games to all of you, and I realized that I was DMing every single one of those games.
It's true.
I had a near first experience.
Oh, really?
I had a friend from softball who I was kind of in love with, and we were gonna play, but it fell through. So
Damn.
As most good D&D games do.
Yeah.
But so that, and we can talk about Jared real quick as well. Jared's first time experiencing a D&D game was the podcast that we've alluded to a couple times that basically detonated into oblivion. And he was not supposed to be a part of it. He was my co-writer, so he would help me kind of figure out the DMing stuff because we were writing a lot for it. And that also didn't start that way. It was after episode 1 was recorded that I was like, Jared, want to write with me? Because that's like when we started becoming friends.
Yeah.
And then he was like, sure, can I sit in on the next session? And I was like, yeah. So we record that episode, and Jared had to come in late because he was doing something. So I say at the beginning of the episode, I'm like, hey guys, someone's going to come listen in. He's probably not going to talk a lot, so I don't expect that to affect the episode. And then he comes in, and I made a character that was named after him, Jared. And Jared, the character, comes up and starts talking, and then I was like, wait, Jared, do you want to voice him? And he was like, yeah, okay. So he picked up a mic, and he started voicing Jared, and then he basically just became like a co-DM that would just voice random NPCs for me. And so he still wasn't a player at the time. That was his first experience ever with D&D. He never had to roll dice. He was just basically helping me write the story. And then Monster of the Week. This is his first time actually playing a TTRPG, right?
Yeah.
This is his first time being a player. And already it's been tons of fun because we've been able to yell at each other quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which is always good. You know, I always love yelling at you.
It's great. It's great to watch.
So, yeah, Jared is actually the newest player. So that's kind of everyone's first experience. I mean, Sam, did you want to talk about your actual first experience?
well, I just know that I played Monster of the Week first. I really liked it, and then I was thrown into actual D&D.
Yeah, you were.
And I had zero experience with anything fantasy. I don't read fantasy novels. I don't necessarily like the genre. I've never watched any fantasy movie that's not set in modern day. So I had no idea what was happening.
And we had no idea about that.
Yeah.
So we were texting about it, and I was just like, yeah, it'll be a fantasy world. And Sam and Noah were like, cool.
And I thought it was just like Harry Potter. I don't know.
And so Sam was like, yeah, cool. So I was like, all right, we're all on the same page here. Sam is like,
and then I willfully bring in like a microwave or something.
Yeah, Sam's like, I bring my microwave and my coffee maker, and I'm like, huh. So I made a joke that the thing that takes them to the magic school was the magic school bus, and it was like, oh, this is funny because it's a bus in the magic world of D&D. That's silly. And then Sam was like, and I also bring a coffee maker and my TV and my microwave. And I was like, I guess the bus isn't as silly anymore.
Yeah.
Suddenly. So I think we started making a joke that like Sam was just from a different place. I think Sam was just from like Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I literally was like, yeah, this guy's from the suburbs. Why is that so funny?
and we had no idea that Sam just didn't know.
And brought all the suburb racism too.
I honestly thought they were joking half the time, so I was just like, yeah, it worked.
I was just like yes-anding because I was like, this is funny.
What's the way to do it? It's just like...
That's why I created a whole medieval village called Pennsylvania that had all the other states.
Oh, and then you decided to do that whole list of like towns and stuff that was like
all the other state names became names of buildings, like famous just like buildings, and I need to look at it because I think they're great because I'm a brilliant person. So we had a general store called Dell's Wares for Delaware, Ark and Saw the Carpenter. Oh, the Mission Inn for Michigan.
I was just thinking
that was good. So yeah, I just kind of did that, and I was like, that's Pennsylvania. And then I realized Sam just was in the real world.
I'm just so used to not getting it that like it just
man.
was whatever.
So then that campaign got deleted, and now we're here. So
So it all worked
Wait, I
out.
just realized. I don't think we mentioned your first DMing experience and my first player experience.
yeah, so I played one campaign before I played with Noah, and it was actually with I think it's a 1990s Marvel tabletop role-playing game,
Interesting.
and it uses a D100 and this chart.
Oh,
And I was playing with my dad and a bunch of his friends. They're all like, well, we're playing a 90s TTRPG. We might as well set it in the 90s. So we had to do a bunch of research on the villain. And I was like, I Google. And they were like, it's the 90s. And I was like, what the fuck? He's like, you go to the library. Because remember, this is also my first time playing a TTRPG. So I was like one of those people that was like, what can I do? It's
Yeah.
like anything you can do in the real world, except in the 90s.
Yeah.
Which I didn't live in.
oh my god.
So that was my first experience with a role-playing game. I was a player though. Then my second experience, I was like, that was so fun. I want to play this with my friends. So I was like, Noah, let's play. And we started with first edition D&D. And the reason was because we found a website that we were just like, how can we get free D&D resources? And we found this website that was the first edition, and we were all super fucking confused, and we were like, this seems really dated. Why do women get like a strength like detriment? This doesn't feel like it's modern. Yeah, in the original it's like women have like a -2 to strength or something like that.
And like half of this, like the non-elf or human species had like a -2 intelligence or something.
It was really bad.
bad. A lot of like the. It was bad. There was a lot of things that weren't correct. And then it was also confusing because half the time we were like, when we were looking it up, it's just like, oh, that's a 5th edition thing. Oh, we'll figure it out. We'll just use it anyways. Or, oh my God. That's technically the second experience, but let's finish the first story first.
So yeah, we were stuck with, and that also had THACO, which if you don't know what that is, it's like a whole algorithm to figure out how you get hit. And I'm sure if I looked at it, it would be very easy to figure out. But I remember when we were sitting there, because we were also using my TV as a monitor for my computer to read all of this, because we were in my living room trying to figure it out. And so we're just on this giant screen on a website reading all of this text about how to calculate our armor class. We were like, no way will we ever be able to play this game together, you guys.
It was so funny because as a player, it was me and our friend Ahmed as the players, and Aiden as the DM. So first we were just being goofy because it's our first time being an RPG, just messing around in a tavern, and you get the typical like, oh, all the people are like, oh, don't mess with us too much. And they're like, okay, let's go fight the goblins they want us to fight. And then we ride off on our horses, and we get to the goblins, and
I don't even remember this story.
oh, we got to the goblins, and you realized you had no idea how to run combat.
Oh yeah, no. So we got to the goblins, and it was just like this huge big thing. It's like, finally we're in combat, and I just stared at them with wide eyes and was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
and then we tried switching over to this weird Marvel thing where like it only had like pre-set up like scenarios.
That was the one that I played.
Oh,
So that was the one I was familiar with. I was like, guys, we can do this, but I hadn't made a character at the time.
It was so
Because there is a way to make characters in it, because I did
Oh.
it later with my dad. We made some mutants that were getting hunted by sentinels. It was a whole thing.
Oh.
But there is a way to make characters, but I didn't know how to. So I was like, you can play as like Hulk or
Spider-Man.
Hawkeye, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they were just like, but we want to make characters
Yeah.
because it's a role-playing game. And I
It
was like, that
was-
makes sense.
It was so
So
funny.
I think I ended up telling my dad about that experience, and he just was like, "Oh yeah, you're interested now? Okay." And then he went and picked up all the books, the player's handbook, the DM's guide, and the monster manual.
Mm.
And he also picked up a Princes of the Apocalypse
Oh yeah.
adventure book. Which, if you don't know, Princes of the Apocalypse I think it has mixed reviews. Some people love it, most people hate it, because it's so open world and freeform that it almost feels like the players don't know what they can do, let alone what they should do.
Oh, Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that after like the first big thing.
Yeah, so and then we start DMing it. I start DMing it as we're learning 5th edition, and we're like, this is way better. That is kind of all of our first experiences with TTRPGs. We're going to wrap up here. Thank you guys for listening. thank you for listening to another episode of Every Which Way. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Tumblr at @eWhich Keenan Dyer did the theme song, and the album art was done by @BlueJayTheHero on Instagram. Thank you both for the work you did on this. I say it every episode, but I love it so much. And as always, we're having inconsistent uploads. I am really sorry, guys. School got very busy. This week is spring break, and I'm trying to get back into editing episodes, so I should have a few episodes coming out with the goal of getting back to episodes every week. I'll be a little bit ahead of schedule instead of behind this time, so you should be seeing another episode next week. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week for more monster hunting.